Hello friends, today let us learn about options. What are options? Option is a type of derivative contracts. So what are derivatives? Derivatives are a financial instrument that derives its value based upon the underlying asset. So if the underlying asset value increases, the derivative's value will also increase. If the underlying asset's value decreases, the derivative's value will also decrease. So options are a type of derivative contracts. So options are a contract between two parties where you are getting a right to either sell or right to buy the underlying asset for a stipulated period of time. There are two kinds of options contract. One is a call option and another is a put option. In call option, you get the right to buy the particular asset, and in put option, you get to sell the particular asset. And the contract are between two parties and it will be for a stipulated period of time. To understand options contracts, let us take a very simple example. Let us say there are two good friends, David and John. David is evaluating to buy a piece of land and John has that piece of land which he would like to sell for $500,000 and he has 1 acre of land with him. Now, there is an information that David has received about this piece of land is that in 6 months' time, there will be a new highway project that will be sanctioned. If the highway project is sanctioned, then the value of the land in 6 months period of time might increase. If the highway project ends up being a rumor, then the value of the land might go down. This leads to a confusion in David's mind of what he needs to do now, whether he should buy the land or whether he should wait for 6 months and then buy the land. So David thought through this process because he is in a state of confusion. He took some time to thought through this process and gave a very good proposal which David claims that is a win-win situation for David as well as John. Let us try to evaluate this particular proposal. In this proposal, David pays an upfront fees of $100,000 to John. Consider this as a non-refundable fees that David pays today. Against this fees of $100,000, John agrees to sell the land for $500,000 in 6 months period of time. Since David has paid this fees, only David has a right to call off the deal and John cannot. So David, after 6 months, can either exercise this deal and buy the piece of land, or if he does not want to buy, he can call off the deal. However, if David calls off the deal, then John gets to keep the $100,000 David has paid in advance. By paying an upfront fees of $100,000 by David to John, David is locking John into an obligation for this contract for 6 months period of time, which means that David can buy this land for a fixed rate of $500,000 even after 6 months from John. And do note that David is paying extra $100,000 as an upfront fee to buy the land for $500,000 after 6 months. And since the fees is paid upfront, John does not have the right to call off the deal, only David has the right to call off the deal. Do note that this agreement fee is non-refundable and non-negotiable. Let us now step into the shoes of David and see in each scenario what he would do if the land value goes up, goes down and remains flat. Scenario number 1, the highway project is sanctioned and the value of the land increases to, let's say, $1 million. Clearly, David is in a win situation here. He has locked the price 6 months before for the piece of land at $500,000. So the value of the land right now is $1 million. Remember, he paid an upfront fees of $100,000 to lock the fees for $500,000. So the cost for him to buy that particular piece of land would be $600,000 and the current market value is $1 million. Clearly, he is earning a profit of $400,000, which means he would definitely exercise the contract. He goes and buys the land for a total cost of $500,000 plus the upfront fees paid $600,000. He would get a current market value of $1 million and end up taking a profit of $400,000. So another way to look at this is by paying an upfront fees of investment of $100,000, he is earning a profit 4 times to $400,000. But the current market value is $1 million, so John ends up getting a notional loss of $400,000. So clearly, in this scenario, David wins and John loses. Let us now take the look at scenario number 2, where the value of the land goes down because the highway project ends up being a rumor. So since the highway project is just a rumor, people are disappointed and the value of the land goes down, let us say, to a price of $300,000. Now, what do you think David will do here? Clearly, David needs to walk off this deal and he should not buy the land. Why? Because if he wants to buy the land, he has to pay a price of $500,000 and he has already paid an upfront fees of $100,000. So his total cost being $600,000. However, the current market value of the land is just $300,000, which means he will end up getting a loss of $300,000. However, if he walks off this deal, he just needs to pay $100,000 of the upfront fees to John, which he has already paid. So he can forego that particular money and he can walk off this deal. So his loss will be only $100,000 and not $300,000. So clearly, in this situation, David loses and John wins, since the value of the price has gone down and John earns $100,000 as a profit. However, David loses $100,000 as a loss because he has walked off the deal. In third scenario, nothing happens. The value of the land remains same at $500,000. In this situation, what would David do? Clearly, again, David needs to pay additional $500,000 to buy this particular piece of land and he has already paid $100,000 as an upfront fee, so the total will become $600,000 as a cost. However, the current market value of the land is $500,000, so he will end up owning the land at a higher cost and earning a loss of $100,000. So it is better to walk off this deal because he don't have to pay an extra cash commitment of $500,000. So David clearly will walk off this deal as well, and he will end up incurring a loss of $100,000 of the upfront fees that he has paid to John. And in this situation as well, John wins $100,000, David loses $100,000 of upfront fees. Point to John, 0 points to David. Now there are a lot of questions that's going through your mind. First is, why do you think David takes up this deal, comes up with this proposal to John? Clearly, David loses in two situations. But the best part is he knows what is his maximum loss, and that is $100,000. So for a maximum loss of $100,000, which he clearly knows upfront, he is going to get a profit of 4 times of $400,000 for when the situation is in favor for him. So in scenario 1, he earns a profit of $400,000. However, in situation 2 and 3, he incurs a loss of $100,000. So he knows his maximum loss, but he knows that his profit is unlimited, and if the value of the land is more than 1 million, he gets that as well as a profit. The next question that you might ask is, why does John take consideration into this deal? So he is getting paid $100,000 upfront, and out of 3 situations, 2 scenarios is favorable for John. So there is 66.66% chance that John might win this deal and 33.33% chance that he might lose. So when he wins, he is earning $100,000 without even selling the lands. However, if he loses, he ends up losing $400,000 in situation 1. But as I said, there is 66.66% chance that he might win and only 33.33% chance that he might lose. So he will also be ready to take up this deal. Certain important points to remember here are, since David has paid this upfront fees to John, this gives David a right to buy this particular piece of land after 6 months for the price that is fixed at a predetermined rate. Now let us evaluate this entire example that we have looked at and try to connect it to our derivative and options agreement. The outcome of the agreement after 6 months is determined based on the value of the land. So if the value of the land goes up, then David buys the land, but if the value of the land goes down, then David might not exercise this deal. So clearly, the land value is determining whether the contract will be executed or not, which means without the land, there is no value for this particular agreement. And hence, the land that is in question here is the underlying asset for this particular contract. And an agreement of this sort is a derivative agreement, and specifically in derivatives, this is an options agreement because David is getting a right to buy the piece of land after 6 months for a predetermined rate, and John is obliged to sell this piece of land. So an option that David gets to either execute or walk off from the deal. The agreement is entered after David pays $100,000 to John, and hence this amount of upfront fees of $100,000 will be called as a premium. Every variable of this contract, the area of the land, the price and the sale date is fixed upfront. So just to summarize what we have learned right now, an option is an agreement or a contract between two parties where the buyer of the option would get the right to buy or sell an underlying asset for a fixed price and for a stipulated period of time by paying an upfront fees of premium. In our example that we learned just now, David and John are agreeing into a call option where David is buying the option and by right to buy the asset for a price of $500,000 fixed in advance and paying a premium of $100,000. In put option, the buyer of the option would get the right to sell the asset for a fixed price for a stipulated period of time, and of course by paying an upfront premium. My dear friends, if you are preparing for your professional exams, then do subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon, because in our next video we are going to talk about how do we apply this derivative contract as a hedging tool, and in that we are going to discuss in detail about currency risk management and interest rate risk management. Dear friends, thank you for watching. This is Prashant Shankar ACCA signing off from Future of Fortune Academia. And guys, one more thing, if you want to reach out to me personally, this is my email address and my contact number. Please feel free to reach out to me anytime.